Let's freaking go. Let's go. Back in the studio again. I'm so excited to be back on American soil. I enjoyed my time in Europe. Obviously, there is no better way to start a live stream than saying hi to all our PHL family watching around the world. But obviously, the big story today, Trey Holly committing to our dear beloved LSU Tigers. And bang, you can see Trey Holly right here in the background. We're going to talk about him today. We're going to talk about this 2023 class overall. I'm also going to talk about how I'm going down to Farmerville, Louisiana to buy them a new tripod because I love watching Trey Holly highlights. I just don't like watching a game that was played on an earthquake essentially every single week. But it might feel like that trying to tackle Trey Holly every single time he touches that mother effing football. So obviously I'm really excited about this young man committing to LSU. We say hi to Nurse Court. We say hi to Danny. We say hi to Skipper. We say hi to Mick. We say hi to Jacob. Lots of the die-hard PHLers in here tonight. Reed, Reed, you've been hiding on me, man. Reed said, look, Carter's going to Europe. Forget that guy. Good to see you again, man. Good to see Michael. Good to see one of the top PHLers. Jared, good to see Ultra, who honestly became a dad over the past couple of years. That's obviously really good stuff right there. So that's obviously the big story today. He becomes the second Louisiana commitment in the state of Louisiana. He also becomes overall, to me, I do think he is LSU's best player that they've gotten up to this point. There are some things that, you wonder about Trey Holly as far as the level of competition. How athletic is he? I mean, he is legit a Clyde Edwards-Helaire type of back, but he's really special. So obviously it feels really freaking good to see it. This is obviously really cool as well from Noah. Drew Brees is not coming back. I think that's your super chat here. He is leaving the booth, though. That was a big story today, broken by the New York Post. Kind of a weird super chat right there. I am going to the LSU channel, even though I am a big Drew Brees fan and collector. I don't know. Drew Brees wasn't all that great in the booth, but I do think he needed more time. So yeah, there you go. Thank you so much, Reed. I really do appreciate that, man. And obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about our personal life. I've gotten a lot of questions about the engagement, which is obviously really good. I saw Danny's comment a minute ago. What's it like with Hey carrying all that bling? Now, as you guys know, PHL, we are an independent operation. Okay. And I've got to shout out once again our friends at the Pressy Collection and PressyCollection.com because that bling bling ring was from Pressy Collection. Yes, but our big movement that we are doing with Pressy Collection are those DBU watches. Go to PressyCollection.com, promo code PHL, and you're getting an extra $30 off this watch. So once again, it says $129. You're getting this watch for $99.99, baby. You know you want it, baby. There you go, Nurse Court. Thank you so much. We worked really hard on designing the watch. Obviously, Star did most of the work. I was able to consult on some of it. And Star Presley, we are doing some really cool stuff with name, image, and likeness. I'm very happy that he chose us to help with this project that he is working on. And I honestly actually put my money where my mouth is and went with Star Presley for my personal engagement ring. And I will say this, and I will get back into LSU stuff really quickly, but I do want to show you this, okay? I have gotten a lot of questions from you guys thinking about popping the question. I just want you to see this. I obviously blurred out the names, but these are just 4 of the gazillion messages Haley has gotten that I've gotten about the engagement ring itself. If you're thinking about popping the question, Star will get you the absolute lowest price without sacrificing quality. We can't go anywhere without Star Presley getting a compliment on the ring. I'm getting that question a lot. They're like, Carter, we didn't know you were the diamond expert. And I was like, I am not a diamond expert. And honestly, I didn't actually have much say in the ring at all. Star was like, just let me handle it. He talked to Haley, and it is what it is. Good to see Caucus in here. We'll see. They are not at all the same back. We'll see. What's good? Yusha's in here. Good. Thank you so much, Jared, for the super chat as always. Stacy, let's go. Let's go. Esteban, I appreciate you. But yes, we are here to chat about LSU football. We are normally on Saturday nights. Normally Sunday night is a film study night. I did not want to do a live stream the night after I got back from a 15-hour flight. It would not have, or 15 hours of travel. I did go to a wedding last night, but the main reason was like I could barely even finish a sentence. I like napped for like 5 hours today. So I'm really energized. I kind of want to just do a live stream all night. I kind of don't want to stop because honestly, as much as I love London, as much as I love Paris, as much as I love going to a Liverpool game, you guys know how big of a Liverpool fan I am. This is what I do. This isn't a job. This is my favorite thing. I am very blessed. And the funny thing about YouTube is you never, and just in media in general, you never know what's actually going to happen with your media career. So that's why I pre-recorded so many videos. I did not actually take a vacation. I put a lot of work in all the videos that we did, the depth charts. Obviously, we premiered a video last night. Brian Kelly, does he need to win a national championship in his first 3 years? Ed Orgeron obviously putting the pressure on him. But I am back, and this is what I do. It's to talk to Yusha. It's to talk to Nurse Court. It's to talk to Danny. It's to talk to all of you, Caucus and all those things. So, man, I appreciate it. What's really kind of crazy, I hope you're still in here, Caucus. Caucus flew out of London the day that I flew in. So I was this close to getting to meet another PHLer. Never saw an answer to my special teams breakdown request. So here's the official request. Okay, so Nurse Court, yes, you did actually send that to me. Thank you so much. I will do a special teams breakdown. The only issue is one of LSU's top special teamers, the Bramlett guy coming over from Notre Dame, is it wasn't a part of spring football just yet. I know they have Peyton Todd right there. I know Nathan Dilbert is coming in with a lot of hype to replace LSU's best kicker they've ever had. I think the bigger thing, though, Nurse Cord, is the special teams coverage breakdown. I do think LSU special teams coverage is something that wasn't really a weakness over the past couple of seasons. In fact, special teams has been a major strength of LSU. So when it comes to the actual rebuild, and once again, Yusha, I appreciate your friendship. You and I get to speak quite a bit now. And obviously, Yusha, I do want to say it again. I understand our news cycle is just crazy, but our thoughts are with you and all our Ukrainian viewers. Yusha was one of the very first viewers of PHL. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And obviously, all our thoughts are with you and all our viewers around the world. Whatever struggle you're going with, I want this channel to be an escape for you. LSU later, did Haley know you were going to do it in Europe, or was it at least a surprise? So as many of you know, I am very open about my personal life here, right? I've dealt with a lot of tragedy recently. Obviously, King Robert was a really close friend of mine, and it kind of sucked for me that, you know, you go on this trip, but you lose someone that you talk to pretty often. And Robert and I talked a lot. So, you know, I talk about my personal life. The most important thing, though, is to chat about LSU football on this channel. But since you did, you know, super chat very generously, once again, I do appreciate you. You did actually get our first round of fish and chips, Danny. So I deeply appreciate you. And by fish and chips, we actually didn't go fish and chips with the dinner that you got, Haley and I. We actually went and got some Indian food. And I got to say, Europe has some of the best Indian food in the world, especially London. Really good Indian population. I will say this though, as far as the engagement is concerned, Haley planned it. I was going to do it at Anfield in Liverpool, um, but Haley planned it. Right? It wasn't really much of a surprise. I'm honest with you guys in everything that I do. Uh, so I'm actually going to get the person who actually helped me with the engagement on this channel because he is a PHLer who actually helped me with the engagement. Um, and he helped plan it for me, but Haley knew that it was coming, right? So it was kind of a surprise, but kind of not, right? So there you go. I know, Danny, you have been helping me throughout this process. I really do appreciate you because you actually lived in London. We actually did it in a very local area of London. That sounded kind of strange, but yes. What's up, Paris? Good to see you. Speaking of Paris, I was in your city just a few weeks ago. Um, but yes, let's talk about special teams. Okay, so Nurse Court super chats about special teams. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Was special teams a strength of LSU over the past 2 seasons? So at the end of the Ed Orgeron regime, do you believe special teams was an issue? It was a problem. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Um, because I am curious because Nurse Court has been asking me a lot about special teams breakdowns. I love that we have viewers like Nurse Court who are such diehard LSU football fans. They want every last little bit of LSU football covered. And that's the point of this channel. We do as deep breakdowns as you're going to find. And we're going to try our best to do our best special teams breakdown. Here's one thing I'll say, okay? Trey Palmer was a really good kickoff returner. Look, you could say all you want about him as a receiver. He wasn't ever really that dominant of a receiver, okay? So Trey Palmer had some really good games as a wide receiver. Obviously, he had that deep Mississippi State touchdown. He had that touchdown versus Texas A&M. But for some reason, Max Johnson and Trey Palmer never had chemistry, and they kept trying to force it. But you can argue all you want about Trey Palmer as a receiver. I am going to be very curious to see what he does in Nebraska. But the truth is, the guy was one of the best kickoff returners at LSU, right? He was really special at it. Now, as far as who is going to return kicks next year, there are a lot of very interesting candidates when it comes to that. The kickoff returner, I think, could be Chris Hilton. It could be Landon Ibieta. It could be a wide range of players. The one thing that you don't want to do, and I hope LSU does not do this, and I don't think that they will because LSU's coaching staff is what I would hopefully consider smart, okay? And Brian Kelly knows way more about football than I will ever know, as does every person that works in that building. But honestly, what I'm about to say has nothing to do with football and has everything to do with common sense. I do not want to see Kayshawn returning kicks next year. I saw it some, and it never made sense to me. And I saw a few other teams do this over the past couple of seasons, and it resulted in injury. So remember a few years ago, yes, Jalen Waddle was one of the best return men in the history of SEC football. But I guarantee you, Nick Saban would not want him returning kicks, knowing that what happened to him versus Tennessee. And we saw this last year with another one of the best receivers in college football last year, Desmond Demas of Maryland, got his leg basically turned the other way on a kickoff return, and Maryland was never the same team. They ended up getting blown out by Iowa in that game. As long as Kayshawn is not returning the kicks, I am happy with whoever's back there, right? Just because he flips the script so much offensively. And it's kind of hard to say this because a lot of players help your teams win, but Kayshawn has gone out there and won us a lot of football games on his own, right? The Ole Miss game in 2020, the Mississippi State game in 2021. That is a one-game difference. There's not many players that are non-quarterbacks that can put a team on your back and carry you. So that would be all I would say about who should actually be back there returning kickoffs. Now, obviously, Kayshawn would be the best option to return kickoffs because he is super freaking good at football. But, it's not smart because this guy is also coming off an ankle injury. So I don't think he's actually going to be the guy. I also would prefer it not be Malik or Jack Best or someone like that because I do think they're the number 2 and number 3 wide receivers on this team. And obviously, Dre, I would say right now, is probably the 4th best receiver on this team. So as long as it's not one of those guys, I think Chris Hilton would be very interesting. I think Landon Avietta would be very interesting. So, yeah. Let's see here. Nussmeyer. Huh? Sip, good to see you, man. I've been missing you, brother. Dex, Dex, please let me know if you got the shirts in the mail. The more important thing, Dex, is I want you and your lovely wife to be rocking the PHL shirts next year. So my PHL shirt is very wrinkled right now. I actually just ripped it out of my suitcase and put it on. I need a haircut. I need a shave. I look horrible right now. I've been sleeping all day. I'm still so jet lagged. So, yeah, I need a selfie of you and your lovely wife in your PHL shirts and sneak into Tiger Stadium to get it. Actually, don't do that. But I'd love to see it. Thank you for supporting the channel. It really does go a long way. And every single one of you, you guys know I put my heart and soul into these shirts, right? And actually, a PHL viewer designs the shirts. And I mail it out. I send you a bunch of extra swag to go along with it. If you want a shirt, a band, this is my Liverpool band, a booger band, a sticker, all you got to do is follow the instructions down below. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. Now, Danny wants to talk more about the engagement. So here's what we'll do, Danny. I'll get back to it in just a second. I know most people are here to talk about LSU football, so we'll stay on topic. But one more thing about the engagement, though, because it has been our top super chat up to this point. We went to a pretty crazy dinner, right? We went all out for the dinner, and we went to a restaurant called Sexy Fish, and it was nuts. They opened one up in Miami, and Jamie Foxx just ate there and sang at the restaurant. If that would have happened, I would have cried. I'm such a big Jamie Foxx fan. But yeah, Sexy Fish is one of the best restaurants I've ever been to. There's one in London, there's one in Miami, and it was crazy, like so nuts. Yeah, Tevin, welcome back. Good to see you again, man. I don't know a whole lot about Antoine Sample at this point, other than he is buried on the depth chart, right? And this is what I always say about all these players. Josh White might go to Baylor and be an all Big 12 player. He might not have just been a fit at LSU, right? Some people just don't fit well in certain environments. A lot of you thought Josh White was going to be special, and a lot of you, includes myself, I thought Josh White was going to be a really good linebacker at LSU. He was a top 250 guy, and Sam Paul was in that same class. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with those two in particular, some of which are injuries, some of which are other things, but we'll see. Now, as far as 2023, I know a lot of you are here to talk about Trey Holly. Chris, I don't know if you're still in here or not, made a pretty interesting observation. My number one player in the state of Louisiana is Shelton Sampson, right? The wide receiver out of Catholic High. I just think wide receivers add so much now in the modern game, and he is an absolute huge piece for LSU moving forward. I'm a big believer in Louisiana wide receivers in particular, and that's why, what happened with the elite Bama receivers from Louisiana, the Kendrick Laws and the Shaz Prestons. The reason why that was kind of a big deal in Aaron Anderson is because all of LSU's receivers, and by all, I mean all of them, are Louisianians. It is quite simply the craziest stat that LSU has. It's wide receiver has been by far their best position over the past decade. And at the, especially on offense, defensive backs close. You can go either or. Um, but if you look at the wide receiver position, all of them have been from the state of Louisiana. All of them. There has not been a wide receiver at LSU that caught 40 or more passes since Terrence Tolliver in 2010. So that's crazy considering, you know, there have been other Louisiana wide receivers that have gone on to be really freaking good at other schools. It is a loaded state with wide receiver talent. It is the most loaded position in the state of Louisiana as well. And that's why Shelton Sampson is an absolutely massive piece. Now, I know LSU overall is still very young at wide receiver, but you got only one in this past class. And, Jack Bash and Malik Neighbors, they have 2 more years. Those, I think those guys are 3 and done guys. So I think Shelton Sampson is priority number 1 outside of course, landing a quarterback. Now, there's plenty of great quarterbacks in the 2023 cycle. Eli Holstein is one of those guys. I don't know what the deal is with his recruitment up to this point. I know the decommitment from Texas A&M was very interesting. I know there's been a lot of heavy Bama rumors. But I'm not counting LSU out of that just because he's in the state of Louisiana. And then at the same time, I'm still a big Ricky Collins believer. But obviously, quarterback is a completely different position. It is so much more valuable. So then you go to the second most valuable position in college football. That's debatable. I would say it's wide receiver. PFF also says it's wide receiver. And you just can't have enough of them. And you just can't have enough of the special specimen that is a Louisiana wide receiver. So Shelton Sampson becomes a huge piece. Also, the fact he's in Baton Rouge, I would feel pretty confident that he will end up at LSU because if you're from Baton Rouge and you see what Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase are doing, it's kind of hard to not pick LSU. So we'll see. Arch at UVA, I would put it at about a 15% chance, probably lower than that. It would be very interesting, right? I do think, man, here's my thing about Arch Manning and LSU, okay? The Manning brand, okay? And Caucus, you work in sports. So some of you that work in sports and just in entertainment in general understand this. There's a difference between a team and a brand, okay? So, for instance, the Los Angeles Lakers are a huge brand. They are the biggest brand in basketball. But LeBron's brand is as big as the Lakers brand, right? He is a worldwide phenomenon. He is his own entity, per se. Anthony Davis is not. Now, he's still a big star, but he's not a LeBron type of star, right? The same thing is true here with Arch Manning. Now, Arch is not accomplished like LeBron, and his brand is based more on what his predecessors have done compared to what he has done. But here's the thing about a brand does not matter what you accomplish, right? Buzz is not always associated with, it's not a meritocracy, right? Kylie Jenner was a big star because of the Kardashians, right? Uh, the Manning brand is huge, right? So wherever that guy ends up going, he is going to be such a big story outside of the school itself. So that's where it gets really interesting with Arch Manning's recruitment. And, it could stunt his development some. That's why, where he lands does matter a lot. Like, for instance, my number 1 quarterback in 2023 is the Nico kid from Tennessee. And Nico is absolutely nuts, right? This guy has a huge personality. And I say nuts in a good way, right? Everywhere he goes, he is rocking Tennessee gear. At the Elite 11 today, he was wearing these Tennessee shorts, right? And they're bright orange. There's T's all over it. He is the most unique looking quarterback. He is built like Kevin Durant. He's huge, and he's got a really cool name, Nico Imanelli. I can't even say his last name. Well, that's the thing. Nico doesn't have a brand, though. He's not Arch Manning, right? So him going to Tennessee is not going to be, just this phenomenon that Arch Manning is going to be wherever he ends up going. And I don't know. I don't know if that's good for Arch, and I don't know if that's good for whichever team actually lands him, because wherever he's going to go is going to be a click farm, right? And what I mean by click farm is that there's going to be 1,000 stories. Will Arch Manning actually end up working out at whichever school he ends up going? And the truth of the matter, as far as like college football recruiting is concerned, as you guys see with the name attached to today's video, obviously Trey Holly's a big story in LSU football circles. But I want this to be clear about the quarterback position. Only one plays. You are never guaranteed snaps. Never. The two best quarterback seasons of the past decade are a consensus. Cam Newton and Joe Burrow, right? It's a consensus of the past 15 years, right? Well, they didn't ever play or start at the first schools that they were with, right? It's hard to play anywhere. Sometimes it's not of your own doing, right? They sat behind Tim Tebow and Dwayne Haskins, who are both record setters at their schools. So, as far as Arch Manning is concerned, maybe going to UVA where he will have a clear shot to start in a year or two would be a good thing, right? Let's just say, I don't know what Brennan Armstrong's year is at UVA right now. Let's just say he's just a sophomore. I think he's a junior or senior. Either way, let's just say Armstrong starts at first year. Then it's clear cut that Arch would get to start his second year at UVA. I think that would actually probably be a better thing for him and the program itself. Yeah, Dante Moore. We got some Dante Moore fans in here. Kevin's a Dante guy. I like that, man. You guys don't love me some Dante Moore. Oh yeah, I've gotten tagged in this Josh Pate thing on Twitter when he said LSU is not a tier one program. Here's the thing, right? I don't know Josh Pate. I don't. And obviously, he's built a huge following. You could make the argument that LSU right now is not a tier one program. Like the roster they have right now is not tier one. But it is asinine to think that LSU is not a tier one program. Okay. Now, if you have a super small tier one where the elites of the elites can't get touched by anyone, then tier one is going to be Alabama and Ohio State, right? They're so far ahead as far as their year-to-year relevance, their recruiting ranking, and Georgia's probably in there now as well. If you want to just have a 3-team tier one, be my guest. And then program number 4 would probably be Clemson. You can argue Oklahoma there. But LSU's in tier one, right? You can look at this from a micro, a macro, a complicated, or a simple way. But the fact that you won national championships with Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, I don't know how much more tier one you can get. I don't know how much more tier one you can get than, and everyone knows this, and Josh knows this, or whoever. I didn't hear the segment. I didn't hear all that was with it. LSU's a tier one program, right? Now, if you're talking about current, they are not a tier one roster going into next year. They're still a very good roster, but they're not a tier one roster. You guys know, I'll be honest with you. But if you want your tier to just be Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama, be my guest. Be my guest. But I can also argue that LSU is more tier one than those programs because they aren't head coach dependent, if you get what I'm saying. You have to have a good head coach, but the point is you can win at LSU without a Bill Snyder or whoever. Think of a legendary coach. You can win with someone who isn't a wizard between the headsets. I don't know anymore. I don't know how much more tier one you're going to be. All right. So we'll see. Exactly. That's perfectly stated. So yeah, I totally I could get him saying that they're not a tier one roster. I'd be the first to tell it. They're not a tier one roster right now. Might not be a tier two roster if you would consider tier two being like they're for sure going 10-3 next year. You know, but they're probably tier two, tier three roster right now. There's a lot of work to be done as far as depth is concerned, and you're going to need a few of these transfers to turn out to be really, really, really good dudes. So we'll see. What's good, Greg? Thank you so much for all your support. It's good to be back in the studio. I'm always feeling better when Greg is in here. A lot like Dex a minute ago. We see some beautiful faces in Tiger Stadium. Next year, though, Greg, I want you and the significant other to be wearing a PHL shirt in Tiger Stadium. Love that. Let's see, Greg. Don't forget, hit me back on IG. Also true as well. 10 players drafted. It's still a crazy stat. I won't get back too much into the NFL draft, but it's still nuts, right? And yeah, I want this to be clear. Arch Manning isn't this big look at me kind of guy, right? Like he's not asking any of this upon himself. You're just kind of born into it, right? When you have that last name. Nurse Court, the queen of the Jack Bash fan club. It's good stuff. Talked to Jack a little bit before my trip. Everything's going good with him. Love that guy. Love it. Yeah, and then this is it right here. The depth. A lot of work to be done. So once again, a lot of people flying in. Thank you guys so much for coming back after, once again, the vacation. We are back to our normal schedule. I wanted to be clear on that. We've got a lot of fun things coming up with Pressy Collection, pressycollection.com. Spoke to Anthony Sum in London. His inbox was flooded from you guys wondering about engagement rings, watches. Once again, you can message me. Or you can go to pressycollection.com and you can learn more. Danny, I appreciate you for the engagement. Congratulations. It's crazy. I don't know how Haley puts up with me. I have no idea. And I'm dead serious. I am nothing without her. Really excited about it. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know what the Dante Moore timeline would be, Tevin, as far as like him coming in and when would he start, right? Look, I'm not going to act like I know what Garrett Nussmeier is going to look like next year or Walker Howard in year two. But if you were to ask me at this point, Dante Moore seems to be a guy that would be ready to play relatively quickly. Now, is he a year one kind of talent? Not many quarterbacks are, but I actually do think he could be someone that could be a year one guy. He's got some real talent. Now, once again, Dante Moore is not a dual threat quarterback. He is a pocket assassin. Now, that doesn't mean he can't run, but he's not someone that's just going to take over a game with his legs. But the kid can really fling the rock, right? And look, his arm isn't, unreal either. It's just he's really good at playing quarterback. And that's all there is to it. You go watch his tape and you're like, well, there's not like these spinoramas, throw it behind your back, Konami plays, right? It's just him tearing people apart. I'm trying to think of a good comp for him. It's kind of hard to say, right? He's got some real talent. Next commitment in the class of 2023 is a good question. Once again, everybody has their own schedules. Thank you, Trey, for the super chat. I really appreciate you. It's tough. It's tough to say. I hope it's Shelton Sampson, right? Look, right now, this is how I view the 2023 class. Now, this is very novice film study. A lot of it changes from junior to senior. I don't have any full game. I just look at their huddle tapes and I see how I think that they would fit in at the SEC level. I have Shelton Sampson and Derek Williams as my top two players in this class. I'm a little bit higher on Zalance Hurd than most. He's pretty up there for me as well. I think it'd be really cool to land him, teaming back up with Will Campbell. So yeah, I think, those three guys would be huge. I know, as far as like Derek Williams, he's had a little bit of a slide in the 247 rankings. I still think he's really good though. I still do. I also think this is true. And look, this is going to come off as something that you're not going to like to hear. Unless you're really, really, really special, landing a gazillion kids may not matter as much as it used to be. If the college football recruiting world still remains to be this 32 players you can bring in, the truth is there's still going to be a lot of kids transferring from LSU and from all college programs, okay? The truth still remains the same, though. If you can still bring in 32 players, which is 25 high schoolers or 32 total players, right? As many transfers as you want, I could still see Jacoby Matthews coming back to Louisiana. I could still see Kendrick Law coming back to Louisiana, and so on, right? I still think those are going to be things. I do. Now, the likelihood of those two players, I was just spitballing two names. It could be any Louisiana player. It can happen, right? And maybe, just maybe, there has been a theme of players coming back, and this guy, obviously on a different level, this guy's coming back to LSU. I say LSU. He's coming back to Louisiana, the great Jarvis Landry. Look at that. I just love this graphic. You have him in the LSU uniform in the middle. You have him in the Saints. I hope he wears that number 80. Okay. So part of the reason why I'm a big Jack Bech fan is like number 80 is my favorite wide receiver number. Chris Carter wore that number. Jerry Rice wore that number. I loved both of them growing up. And I also love old school wide receiver numbers in the 80s, right? Who remembers those years when all wide receivers wore jersey numbers in the 80s? I'm a jersey number nerd. I hope Jarvis Landry wears that number 80 for the Saints. Still waiting to see what jersey number he's actually going to wear. But yeah, obviously really excited about that. It's my first time getting to talk about the Jarvis Landry news. And you guys know we are big Juice fans on this channel. Okay? I believe Holstein did get a quick visit to LSU. I think I saw that on Twitter. I know his older brother went to Louisiana Tech, and that's where Joe Sloan was beforehand. But we'll see. Holstein's recruitment has been very interesting, and the Master Blaster is here. Okay, good to have you back once again. We're gonna share with you the big story of the day. That is, of course, Trey Holly committing to LSU. Thank you so much, Danny, for the super chat. And as you see, Trey Holly's stats, nothing short of incredible. Rushing, receiving, junior, freshman, sophomore year, obviously really good stuff. So there you go. Are you more concerned for depth on defense or offense line, especially for the upcoming season? There's still quite a few questions during the spring game. So, Danny, because you are our top super chatter, we're going to switch up the poll question here. Is Trey Holly LSU's best committed player thus far for the class of 2023? 64% of you say yes. There you go. So let's switch up the poll question for Danny, okay? Now, I'm going to play this for you really quickly, okay? Now, if you're just joining, not that, right here, Trey Holly, the Master Blaster is in here. Here's some Trey Holly highlights. Take it in, and I'm going to grab this really quickly. Look at this. The breakaway speed is just insane. Oh, but that guy filming ain't a surgeon. Skipper, I just can't get over like how bad that footage actually is. So look, I've actually had to do the high school filming thing. It's tough, right? It's tough. So we have exactly 80 viewers in the live chat. So once again, I love the number 80. I've always loved the number 80. Mick says Holly has never touched that. Won't happen in the SEC. Yeah, when you play lower level teams, you're not going to get touched that often. Also, you're not going to be running full counter with a fullback all that much in the SEC either. And that's the thing, Danny. That's what you always have to factor in. Is it the opposition? Because Trey Holly does play at a lower level. We've had guests on here, including Sean Fox, who says Trey Holly, when he plays against some of the best players, he's oftentimes the best player on the field. So, yeah, the one thing I will say about Trey Holly, though, is that he is really, really, really dominant. So, once again, let's actually go through this footage yet again. Okay. This is a state championship game. All right. So he makes this guy miss, makes that safety miss. And what I often ask myself is how many other guys would have been able to make that run? Not many people would have been able to make that run in the state championship game. This run's a little bit different where it was just green grass. So I want you to watch this again and let me know in the chat. Do you think most of these runs are being made by Trey Holly, or is it the level of competition? So I'm just going to be quiet and let this footage roll, and I'm going to let you decide for yourself. So Looks like it is a mix of both. So that's the thing. So here's what we're going to do. Okay. I'm going to give away one of my bigger cards right now. Okay. I have not one, but two autographed. Actually, no, this is my only one. But anyway, next person that gets a PHL shirt in honor of Jarvis Landry signing with the New Orleans Saints, I'm sending you, bang, Jarvis Landry autograph jersey card. Next person that gets a PHL shirt will get that card right there. Okay? All you gotta do is follow the instructions at the bottom of the screen. The Master Blaster. Go ahead, Jacob. Get your shirt, man. It's one of my favorite cards. This auto is so beautiful. Let me switch up this poll question here for Danny. What's up, Rob? Good to see you. There you go, Jacob. Jacob's already won the Jarvis Landry card. Congratulations, Dan. All right. There you go. The Bomani hold music. Ha 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 ha. Thank you so much, Jacob, for supporting the channel. I already have your information, Jacob. Just shoot me an email and we'll get it out to you, man. God, I love this card. Congratulations, Dan. There's only 99 of these in existence, and you got one of them, man. Look at that. His autograph is so beautiful. There you go, man. Congratulations, Jacob. Yeah, for me, as far as Trey Holly is concerned, I don't think I don't think Danny, for me, it is so much that the level of competition isn't good. I think it is more so how much tread he's gotten off those tires, right? Every time he suits up, he's got to go out there and win the game for his team. And he's been doing that since his freshman year. So, yes, it is a lower level of competition, but you're still getting hit a lot. And what I want to do is show you just these pure volume stats. Yeah, Noah Kane, the running back from Penn State. So you look here, I mean, 1,600 yards as a freshman, 2,700 yards as a sophomore, 2,600 yards as a junior. It's pretty crazy, right? It is absolutely crazy, these stats. But the issue is that is a lot of carries and a lot of touches. Now, a lot of high school running backs have a lot of touches. Obviously, Derrick Henry is a very famous example of that. But something else that's interesting about Trey Holly is one big projector of how good you are at the next level is your weight, right? They actually look at that now. And a lot of times, the best running backs are those that are a little bit heavier. And Trey Holly right now on 247 is listed as 180 pounds, which is relatively light. He's not a big guy. So it's very interesting. So yeah, size does matter when it comes to running back play. Now there's a lot of smaller running backs that still make it, but your size does matter because it does help absorb hits per se. So, yes, once again, poll questions up for Danny. Are you more concerned for depth on offense or defensive line for the upcoming season? Or just offense and defense in general. So, Danny, let's take a look at the poll question so far. Your poll has 19 votes. Defense currently winning 58%, concerned about the depth on defense. Okay, so let's actually go through the positions. Obviously, LSU is really deep at quarterback. Will one of them separate themselves from the pack? We shall see. But obviously, wide receivers where they are the deepest on the team. Now, Danny, on the offensive line, they actually are really deep when it comes to numbers. But how many like quality starters are in those numbers? That obviously depends on how you feel about two players in particular, Cardell Thomas and Marcus Dumerville. If you actually believe that both of those guys will continue on some of the positive things that they've done at the end of 2021 and, some good performances at times during spring football, then, you feel a little bit more comfortable about the overall depth of the offensive line. The truth of the matter, though, is you need about 7 or 8 offensive linemen, and you need a swing offensive lineman that could play multiple positions. Now, we'll see. Type Y for yes, type in for no. How many of you think Garrett Dellinger is a starting caliber offensive lineman in the SEC? Okay. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Do you think Garrett Dellinger is a starter in the SEC? A lot of you think he's going to be the center next year. Here's to hoping that he can play center. Ooh, I love Matthew Langlois, but I wouldn't compare him to the best that's ever played defensive back in the SEC. What's up, Rob? There's my guy. I love it, man. Rob and Danny and Jared treated me and Haley to dinner at different times during our London trip. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for making the engagement trip even more memorable. I really do appreciate you. Goes a long way. Welcome, Linda. Good to see you. Linda, I don't know if this is your first time watching. I think I've seen you in here before. Everyone throw some clap emojis up for Linda. Christopher, I don't know if this is, no, I've seen you before. Christopher, good to see you. Steven, good to see you as well. Y'all show some clap emojis for Steven, Linda, and Christopher. Now, Reed, you know this by now. I'm going to keep badgering you about this. I want you guys to change your avatars, right? I want to see your beautiful faces. I need you to be like Dex. I need you to be like Greg. I want to see photos of you guys rocking LSU gear, right? Like this. You got to love that. Look at those beautiful smiles, baby. Huh? There you go. Size does matter. Nobody with the that's what see shit. I thought when I said that to you, Trey, that was going to fly in. And ironically, we were talking about Trey Holly. But yeah, good to see you, Joel. So yeah, I think Dellinger is very interesting, right? Obviously, coming off this injury, we'll see where he is going into fall. I do think he could start in the SEC. I do, and he started last year as a true freshman in the SEC. Now, the Texas A&M game, I don't know how LSU didn't give him more help. They kind of left him out there, but it was what it was. We won the game. So yeah. But still, offense is pretty deep. Now, is it good depth? I don't know. The only position you feel great about on offense is wide receiver. And I'll go this far as well. That is the only position that I feel 110% comfortable with going into next year. Now, that sounds like a criticism, but it's really not, right? You're oftentimes not fully comfortable with a lot of different units going into the next year, right? Because so much changes year to year in college football and just in football in general. So, for me, uh, it's interesting. Now, the defensive side of the ball for Danny Super Chat here, as far as the quality depth on defense, I am concerned some about the defensive line. I do think there are some players that are going to have to, change up their play style from running a 4-3-1 gap, get as far up the field as you possibly can, to running a 3-4 where your responsibilities change. So yeah, it's very interesting. Doc, good to see you. So still, I like the defensive line depth. Now, linebacker is very interesting. They're also really deep there. I'm so interested to see who the two starters are going to be. I feel pretty comfortable Mike Jones is going to be one of the guys, but Greg Penn looks like he's going to be the other starter. But, don't count out Micah Baskerville, don't count out Jared Small. And then the secondary is going to be one of those things where you can't really say what's going to happen until we actually see how they're going to line up. Lots of transfers. What is Seven Banks going to do as far as the secondary is concerned? And to go one step even further, the new coaches of the secondary. So, yeah, at this point, I would say offense in general, Danny, just has more of an identity than the defense does. So we'll see. See, Doc Knock, running back. I just want to know, where are my Trey Bradford believers? Are there any Trey Bradford believers in this channel? And I'm not just saying like, yeah, he's good, or he could be good. How many of you think Trey Bradford is LSU's best running back on this team? I think Mick does. I think a few of you think Trey Bradford is LSU's best RB. Ooh. Okay, so this is interesting. I started my live stream at 7. Okay. I do want to bring this up. Okay. Uh and I know it's not LSU, okay? But it is a big story, okay? And it does involve Louisiana, okay? I didn't see this, right? There's so much happening. I was putting together uh some Trey Holly footage, but I do want to show you this, okay? Despite speculation from media about my future this fall, I'm currently undecided. I may work for NBC. I may play football again. I may focus on business and philanthropy. I may train for the pickleball tour, senior golf tour, coach our kids, or all the above. I'll let you know below. I didn't see this tweet. Now, once again, I'll get back into LSU specific stuff. That's crazy. Drew is trolling. He's not coming back to football. I was going to wait until we're closer to 2 hours in. Yeah, you guys know I don't do Saints stuff on here, even though I'm a Saints fan. There's so many great Saints channels out there. I am interested in starting a Saints channel, but I'm more so working on starting my SEC channel, which will talk more about the general SEC, because I do get a lot of questions from you about what are my thoughts on Texas A&M, what are my thoughts on Alabama, and so on and so on. So yeah, you're doing something right when the porn bots start coming in. So there you go. I'm gonna leave these up. I know Jared is wanting to get those links for Naked in the Booty Hole. Huh? Did that actually show up? My YouTube software or my software is a little bit different than what you guys see. Did you guys actually see that? I don't know. Obviously, I don't think he would come back, right? I don't think he would come back. But I will say this, right? Don't you think that there's a few of these other all-time great quarterbacks that see what Tom Brady's doing and they're like, well, maybe I got some gas left in the tank. Does it not cross your mind? And don't you think there's at least one team out there that would give Drew Brees the opportunity? There's at least 10 that would call him and get him in the door, right? Ironically, could one of those teams be the Miami Dolphins, right? I mean, Tua's arm, I guarantee you, is not that much better than Drew's in its current state. So yeah, he's just saying the Saints are making some great moves. We'll see. He also tweeted that Juice and Honey Badger make him want to return. I'm kind of interested to see Drew Brees, the pickleball player. But here's the truth, okay? If you want to know the truth about professional athletes, is once you sign a deal with Copperfit, that is when you officially retire. Okay. And as many of you know, Drew Brees officially started doing Copperfit ads right before he officially announced his retirement. Ordered all three. I think that's where a few of you went. You're like, oh, Naked in the Booty Hole. I gotta see what this is all about. Forget this unshaven, uncut, stupid LSU memorabilia channel. If you promise me Naked in the Booty Hole content, I'm going to Naked in the Booty Hole content, baby. Let's go. Huh? Joel, let's go. Joel. And it's ironic. I have exactly 69 viewers watching this channel right now. Cowboys actually would be an interesting fit. Team back up with Sean Payton. There you go. So once again, we gave away our big card today, Jarvis Landry. Here's what we'll do. Um, as Tyler has said, and Danny knows this, when you get a shirt from me, I do not shortchange you with LSU memorabilia. So Tyler, I definitely hooked him up with some goodies because Tyler is actually Tyler. I'm still waiting for your trivia question. I've been missing those trivia questions. So please, Tyler, feel free to send me one. You have some of the best trivia questions. Chris has only missed one trivia question. It's pretty crazy. What was it? The Pete Maravich one, or there was another one. Uh, but still, Chris is still the trivia champion at PHL. If Doc Knox is really good on the trivia as well. So, Trey, if you can't go, I say Trey, or anyone can Venmo me a trivia question. But I think Tyler is the one that's going to do it. I always trust Tyler in doing it. And we have 74. We've been up to 90. Let's see what was the peak number was. Well, I can't actually see the peak number now. Um, Yeah, Roger. Well, that would take a pretty gnarly super chat. Huh? Huh? Well, it depends on the rookie. You can still get some good Drew Brees, um, younger Charger stuff for some good prices. I got one for 99 cents. Um, but I look at it a lot, so it's a little bit different. Yeah, look, last thing on Drew Brees, I don't think he's gonna come back. I will say this, okay, as someone who has done the broadcasting, um, so I used to do high school broadcasts, and I what I would do is I would get a former player that I played with to come join me in the booth to do the broadcast, and it takes a while. It takes a while to get good at it. Broadcasting a game is not an easy thing to do for some people. Now, there are very few sports broadcasters that are just not good at sports broadcasting, but not every player. Like, for instance, I don't know if Tom Brady's going to be a great broadcaster. You don't know. So it's hard. It could be really hard, especially, if you're used to, you know, like if you're not comfortable criticizing people, it's going to be hard because always in the back of your mind, you don't know what's going to happen. Let's see here. Let's see. Drew Brees will be playing in Lake Tahoe celebrity. There you go, Chris. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Chris, I thought you already a member of the PHL T-shirt club. Might be a two-time member. Thank you so much. Appreciate Chris and Jacob. Chris, I'm gonna send you some goodies as well. Joel, there is no Eric Gilbert news. I don't know why Josh always thinks Eric Gilbert is gonna come back. I got a good face for TV. Some people have a face for radio. Well, when I worked in radio for a long time, my grandmother would always call me and say, you got a face for radio. Huh? 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 And I was like, thanks. You made that joke 3 times now. Huh? 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 Uh, but yeah, there is no Eric Gilbert news. Let's see here. Uh, mm, Yeah, no Eric Gilbert news. Let's see here. I don't know why this isn't popping up for me. Let's see here. There we go. Share screen. Here. Bang. So this was 247's weight of Trey Holly at 180. I could see him bulk up a little bit more though. So they have him listed at 180. I don't think that's going to be his final playing weight though. I really don't. Let me see. Why isn't this okay? We just landed Shelton Sampson. That's obviously really good. I haven't seen a tweet yet. I hope you're right. That would be very nice, actually. Just got a crystal ball. Okay, now you guys have me searching for the Shelton Sampson news. I am hoping you're right about that. Let's see. So is the Shelton Sampson thing official? You just put one in? Okay. Good stuff. Mm. So this would be my question for you. Okay. And this, what I'm about to say is not. Also got a crystal ball for Dalen Austin, a corner from Cali. Okay. So what does that mean? Does this mean that Brian Kelly is some amazing ace recruiter? It might be. It might be that, you know, players or recruits coaches and their families are enamored by Brian Kelly. Look, there's this long held idea that Ed Orgeron is Louisiana through and through, and he is, right? But the people that actually, work for LSU and go to LSU isn't a school made of a bunch of kids that speak Cajun and are from Louisiana, right? A lot of powerful people at LSU are more like Brian Kelly than they are Ed Orgeron, right? And for me, that kind of fits in a little bit more potentially with some of the politics that comes along with the LSU job, right? So, you always hear this that Brian Kelly is not a fit at LSU. When in actuality, he could be a better fit in many ways as far as his political background. So Brian Kelly knows how to talk to recruits, and he's got a history with politics and how he connects with people. Okay. Now, for some, that rubs people the wrong way. It is what it is. Truth be told, though, let's just say Brian Kelly is just knocking the socks off of all these recruits. And his pitches have been excellent. And he's getting this corner from Cali and he's getting Shelton Sampson. My question for you, though, would be would these players be committing to LSU anyway? And my answer would be yes to that. So, yes, Brian Kelly is obviously doing a good job recruiting 2023. He's done a good job portaling these kids on in. But this has always been the truth at LSU is that LSU recruits itself. The brand, the culture, the city, the NFL success has as much to do with kids that go to LSU than anything else. It always has been, and it always will be, unless this next coaching regime is just a disaster, which I don't think they're going to be. There's just so much upside in going to play at LSU. There just is. You are, the only Power 5 school in the state. LSU fans are the absolute best, but it's the players, okay? Jack Besh idolized Tyrann Mathieu, right? Every corner idolizes Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu came along when YouTube really started to become a thing. And generations upon generations of kids have watched Tyrann Mathieu play in this YouTube era at both levels of football. And they're like, I want to be like him. I want to be like him. Tyrann Mathieu, after this contract, is going to be the fourth highest paid safety in the history of the game. Slightly disagree. I think BK sells on vision, which I think appeals more than selling LSU. And I agree with this. I do. I do. But at the same time, I do think a lot of the reason why kids go to LSU, and once again, that wasn't a knock at Brian Kelly. It's honestly the reason why Brian Kelly came to LSU is to make it easier for him to actually do recruiting. That is the number one reason when you hear Brian Kelly or Polian or anyone talk about it. But I do agree that Coach O's stick has got old, got stale, and we weren't winning. So let's see. Roger, thank you for the super chat. He says, "Do you remember Mo versus?" I do. Okay, so for those that don't know, there used to be not right about a lot. Yeah, like I said, caucus. It's complex because it's not like a yes or no kind of thing. Because obviously, when recruits commit to a school, there's so many different variables now. There's name, image, and likeness. There's playing for this coach or playing for this university or playing for this brand or playing for this part of the country or playing for this conference. Some kids go to a school because they can wear a certain jersey number. Some kids go to a school because that's where their girlfriend is, or that's where their brother coaches, or that's where their handler got a job. I have no idea why I'm getting porn botted into oblivion. So RD brings this up. Once again, it's a personal question, kind of LSU related, kind of not. Do you remember Mo versus? So if you are bored one day, you can go Google this or just type this in a YouTube search. Um, there was this series where Mo Isom, the LSU goalie, she played and she also kicked the football. She was going to try and kick for LSU, and Mo versus was the thing where she would challenge other LSU athletes. The funny thing about it was I actually did a Mo versus, except I was a reporter who challenged Mo Isom to a penalty kick shootout. And the video is somewhere. And Mo Isom was a great LSU soccer player. So, so I don't know. I was doing those versus challenges. I did a tennis one. I did a discus one as well, where I went up against one of LSU's top shot putters. So yeah, it was nuts. But yeah, I do remember Mo versus. So if you want to look it up, mine was something different, but I did do a video where Mo Isom and I did a penalty kick shootout. Thank you, Tevin. I appreciate you. That's crazy. 75-34, Dallas. My dad's been texting me about the game. It's like, look, Doncic is going off. Kind of crazy. I still think the Pelicans could have won that series versus Phoenix. I still do. That's true, Roger. It was USC was such a disaster. I didn't either. I actually sucker bet Giannis +5 and the Bucks. I'll say this, and I think I tweeted this out earlier. I think the most overrated thing in sports is Game 7. I don't like Game 7s. I know that's like very anti-climactic, but it's not good. Like Game 7s are normally very sloppy. Players are tired. When you play the same team 7 times, it's ridiculous, right? A 5-game series is good enough. Now, once again, the NBA is never going to go away from the 7-game format because of money and ratings, and that's how it's always been done. But it really is a ridiculous way to determine a basketball game, especially when you play game by game games throughout the entire, course of the year. But I won't get into an NBA rant. We'll save that a little bit later. But Game 7s are normally sloppy messes where, Milwaukee shot 4 for a gazillion from 3. They don't have any legs, and they also don't have Chris Middleton. So, I just think Game 7s are overrated. They're oftentimes really sloppy games. How do you think Brian Kelly's doing with recruiting now he's gotten settled? Obviously, really good. Any day you get some Shelton Sampson crystal balls and you get Trey Holly to commit, that's always a really good thing. Still, though, I still think we're in the very early stages of this transfer portal NIL era, and we're going to see how much recruiting classes still matter. And I think a good litmus test is going to be Texas A&M, right? Obviously, recruiting still does matter. You still need to aggregate a top 5 to top 10 level class for you to win national championships. But, the portal is going to be so important, and LSU obviously has done a really good job in it. how well you continue to do on that is going to be pretty important. Now, Brian Kelly made it pretty clear that high school football recruiting is still going to be a big basis of his program, but we'll see. Okay. So I'll push back on this. It's the best way. Any team could beat a better team in a one off. The team that wins 4 games is undoubtedly the best team. Not necessarily, right? It just depends. Like, there's no real great way to determine who the best team actually is, right? Now, in theory, you would like to say that if you play more games, the better team will win out in the long term. My pushback to that, though, would be basketball is a different sport when it's played in a series compared to when it's played in the regular season. Okay. Because the talent it takes to win a lot in the regular season is a lot different than what you have to do in a playoff series. So yes, the better playoff team will win over the course of a series, but I think 7 is overkill. I think 5 is more than enough. So, for me, I don't like the NBA playoff format. I don't, because so I grew up the NBA was my favorite thing growing up. I grew up in an NBA household, right? And for instance, like, so my dad's a big supporter of this channel. He watches in the background, and he's still watching now on one screen, but he's always got the NBA on. It's his favorite thing, right? Let me put it this way: your whole life, basketball is the championship format in basketball is a one game elimination format. Your entire life as a basketball player, no other level of basketball determines its champion in anything else but a one off, right? Now, once again, you get a bunch of random uh, samples. You get a lot more variance from one offs, the example being the NCAA tournament, and the best team doesn't always win. But that's true at all levels of basketball, right? If you play these long series, it changes. The game is officiated differently. Your strategy is officiated differently. It heavily influences what you actually do in the regular season. It sucks. It honestly sucks. And you get these sloppy series. So there you go. This isn't college basketball. Okay. That's my point. Is basketball is never played in a series format, ever. It has never been played in a series format outside of the playoffs. So, why would you determine who the best team in basketball actually is by switching over to a format that is not played ever in your history, ever? When you really think about it, it's crazy. It's honestly crazy because it changes the it changes a lot of different little intricacies of the sport. Now, look, I still sit and watch NBA basketball because I'm a big fan of the NBA, but still. So we are approaching 2-ish hours. 1.5 hours. So I will answer as many LSU football related questions. But normally when we get in, past the 1.5 hour mark, we go into different topics. Some of you wanted to know more about my engagement, including Danny. Feel free to ask about that. If you are in the market for an engagement ring or a diamond pendant for the wifey, the girlfriend, or anything like that, let me know and I will link you up with Anthony Starr Presley. You see it at the bottom of the scroll, Presley Collection and PresleyCollection.com. Okay. So feel free to reach out about that. And obviously, I'll give you the hookup. I will say this: with getting the engagement ring, it's absolutely crazy how many compliments Haley gets for the ring itself. Nothing, people are happy for her. They're like, God, then that's let me know where you got that ring. PresleyCollection.com. It's never been a college format in the NBA. Yes, my exact point. The form you're telling me the highest level of basketball, the pinnacle of the sport, the pinnacle is going to be determined in a format that is never played your entire life. It's crazy. Now, NBA is unwatchable, drive, kick three, or just jack up a three. It is a 3-point game, right? If you hit your threes, you're going to win. If you don't, you're likely going to lose. That's what happened in the Milwaukee Boston game. So yeah. Are we having wings at the wedding? You better believe it, baby. Wings, brisket, steak, tacos, elote corn, lasagna, chicken curry, chicken tikka masala, paneer. We're having it all. Joel, appreciate you. So yeah, Shelton Sampson, crystal ball to LSU. That's always a good thing. I should just live stream the wedding. Huh? Danny's pulling it up being a dead heat. Let's see. All right, guys. Will I answer questions from the altar? There you go, Ray. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Trust me, I'll never get tired of getting compliments from the engagement ring itself. It was so great. It really was. I hope all of you find true love. And by true love, it's somebody that makes a really, really mean lasagna. And that is Haley. Will comments be enabled during ceremony? I don't know. Should they be? All right, guys. Gold, purple in Texas. Gold, purple. Gold Texas and purple dresses for the parties. I should do the gold tux. I just know Brian Kelly's invited if he wants to come. Brian Kelly, Joe Burrow, Tyrann Mathieu, if you're watching this, you're more than welcome to come. Edwards Ron's more than welcome to come. Let's see. So coming up tomorrow, I will probably have some type of video out. I don't know if I want it to be a recruiting video. We'll see. We'll also get back to our normal Tuesday night. We'll get back to our normal Tuesday night live stream schedule. We talked about Arch a little bit earlier, about 30 or so minutes. It wasn't so much about, the visits. It was just what you're getting with Arch Manning. So, yes, there should be a video out tomorrow. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. Obviously, working on a bunch of projects now that I'm back in the studio. Obviously, getting back up to speed. You may not see it. I am still very jet lagged. The jet lag is a very real thing. So yeah. Shout out to our top super chatters tonight. Got to shout out Chris and Jacob. They joined the PHL T-shirt club. They're getting some autographed LSU cards, which is obviously really cool. Shout out to our top super chatter, Danny. She's always supporting me as much as anyone on this channel. And all our super chatters, Trey, Nurse Court, all the usual suspects supporting the PHL movement. I really do appreciate it. The Master Blaster, everybody. It's good stuff. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! So, Michael, we good to see you. And tonight, doing some burgers. Let's go. Oh, I hit the wrong thing.